Parenting today feels overwhelming. Screens distract our kids, pressure mounts, and patience runs thin. You want to raise confident, focused children, but the chaos makes it feel impossible. What if an ancient secret could guide you through this modern storm? In this video, I'll share a powerful parenting lesson from the Bhagavad Gita, one of the world's oldest spiritual texts, that every parent needs to hear. Stay with me, this might just change your parenting forever. Chapter 1, The Parenting Struggle Today. Parenting today can feel like an endless battle. You wake up before dawn, already exhausted, knowing the day ahead will be filled with fights over screen time, homework meltdowns, and endless questions you don't always have answers for. You rush to make breakfast while checking emails, preparing for work, all while your child is glued to their phone or tablet, barely paying attention to anything else. The house buzzes with distraction, TV shows in the background, notifications constantly pinging, and the pressure to keep up with every school activity and social media trend. By the time night falls, you're emotionally drained, maybe frustrated, maybe worried. You wonder if you're doing enough, if your child is growing up too fast, and if you're losing your connection with them. You're not alone. Millions of parents today feel overwhelmed, guilty, and uncertain. How do you raise strong, confident kids in a world that pulls their attention in 1,000 directions? How do you teach focus when screens are everywhere? How do you build resilience when even the smallest setback feels like a crisis? And how do you stay calm when your own patience runs thin? These questions keep many parents awake at night. I want you to know, there is hope. Ancient wisdom, from a place you might not expect, offers us a path forward. A guide that has helped millions across centuries navigate confusion, fear, and overwhelming challenges. That guide is the Bhagavad Gita. But before we get into what the Gita can teach us about parenting, let me tell you a story. Meet Anjali. She's a working mom with 2 kids, juggling deadlines, Zoom calls, and the chaos of family life. Every morning is a race, trying to get her kids ready for school while preparing her own work. Her son, Rohan, loves video games. He struggles to focus on homework, often procrastinates, and his grades are slipping. Anjali finds herself snapping more often than she wants. She feels guilty for losing her temper but can't seem to find another way. One evening, after a particularly rough day, she sits on the couch, tears welling up, wondering if she's failing as a mom. She's desperate for a way to help Rohan, and herself, find peace and strength. Sound familiar? If you've ever felt this way, exhausted, unsure, heartbroken, you're not alone. Parenting in the modern world isn't just about managing schedules or homework. It's about guiding young souls through a storm of distractions, expectations, and emotional challenges. And sometimes, we need wisdom that goes beyond parenting books and viral advice. That's where the Bhagavad Gita steps in. Thousands of years ago, on a battlefield filled with chaos and uncertainty, a warrior named Arjuna faced a crisis that shook him to his core. He was confused, overwhelmed, and afraid, much like many parents feel today. In that moment, Krishna, his guide and friend, offered teachings that went far beyond the battlefield. Teachings about duty, balance, love, and inner strength. These teachings have the power to transform how we parent, to raise children who are not only smart but resilient, focused, and grounded. In the next chapter, we'll dive deeper into the Gita itself, what it is, why it still matters, and how it speaks directly to the challenges of modern parenting. But for now, take a deep breath. You're about to discover a secret that can change everything. Chapter 2, What is the Gita, and what can it teach parents today? Before we draw lessons from it, let's first understand what the Bhagavad Gita really is. It's not a rulebook, it's not a lecture. It's a conversation, raw, honest, and deeply human. It takes place in the middle of a battlefield. Not just a physical one, but a mental and emotional battlefield too. Arjuna, a warrior, a leader, a protector, is moments away from war. But when he sees his own loved ones on both sides, something inside him breaks. He drops his bow, his hands tremble, his mind spins with doubt. And that's when Krishna speaks. Not as a god, not as a philosopher, but as a calm friend, whispering clarity into Arjuna's storm. This is the essence of the Gita. It isn't about religion. It's about inner strength in the face of overwhelming confusion. It's about being a human with responsibilities, who sometimes wants to give up. It's about finding clarity when everything around you feels like chaos. And that's why it speaks to parents so powerfully. Because parenting, especially today, feels like standing in the middle of your own personal battlefield. You love your child. But you're also torn, between work and home, discipline and compassion, fear and hope. You face pressure from society, guilt from within, and noise from everywhere. So how do you stay steady? How do you show up, again and again, with love and strength? That's where the Gita becomes your ally. One of Krishna's first lessons to Arjuna is simple, yet profound. You have a right to perform your duty, but not to the fruits of your actions. This one line holds a secret every parent needs to hear. You are responsible for effort, not outcome. You can teach your child with all your love. You can set the best example. You can try your absolute best. But you cannot control their results, not their grades, not their mistakes, not even their moods. This doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you parent from a place of peace, not pressure. You stop attaching your self-worth to their performance. You stop taking every tantrum as a personal failure. You start seeing yourself not as a controller, but as a guide. Just like Krishna was for Arjuna. Let me tell you about Rahul. A father of two, Rahul believed in discipline. He pushed his kids hard, extra tuition, weekend classes, zero tolerance for failure. He thought he was preparing them for the real world. But his younger son, Dev, began shutting down. He stopped talking, his eyes lost their sparkle, he began to fear his father. One night, Rahul overheard Dev tell his older brother, "I wish Papa liked me when I made mistakes too." That sentence shattered Rahul. He realized he was parenting with fear, not wisdom. That's when he turned to the Gita. Not to become religious, but to become more anchored. Rahul learned what Krishna told Arjuna. One who is steady in success and failure is truly wise. As parents, success and failure come daily, in small doses. A report card, a meltdown, a hug, a lie. One moment you feel like the best parent, the next, the worst. But wisdom isn't found in perfection. It's found in stability, in showing up calmly, consistently, with compassion. And that's what the Gita teaches. It doesn't give you tricks or hacks. It gives you something deeper, a way of being. Because when you change the way you show up as a parent, your child feels it. Even if they don't have the words for it. Even if they pretend not to care. They feel your energy, your steadiness, your honesty, your love without condition. And that changes everything. In the next chapter, we'll dive into a common parenting dilemma. How do I get my child to listen without shouting, threatening, or giving up? We'll use Krishna's teachings to find a powerful answer, one that rewires how we approach obedience, respect, and trust. If you've ever felt like giving up, or wondered if you're doing this parenting thing right, pause. Breathe. You're not alone, and you're not failing. You're growing, you're trying. And that matters more than you know. If you want more grounded, emotional content like this, drawn from timeless wisdom and real-life struggles, subscribe now and turn on notifications. Because the next chapters in this video will take you even deeper. And they might just change how you see parenting, forever. Let's keep going. Chapter 3, How to Get Your Child to Listen, Without Yelling or Begging. You try to stay calm. You repeat yourself once, twice, 5 times. But your child still isn't listening. Finally, you raise your voice, and immediately regret it. Sound familiar? This silent war plays out in thousands of homes every evening. And it's not just about obedience. It's about feeling heard, it's about connection, it's about respect, on both sides. But here's the question. How do you make your child truly listen, without shouting, threatening, or begging? What if the answer isn't in more control, but in more clarity? What if the Gita holds the key? When Arjuna refused to fight, Krishna didn't scream, he didn't threaten. He didn't say, "If you don't listen to me, I'll stop helping you." Instead, he guided. He explained. He asked questions, he helped Arjuna see for himself what needed to be done. I have explained to you this knowledge. Now reflect on it fully, and then do as you wish. Did you catch that? Krishna teaches from a place of respect, not control. He presents truth, but gives space. He doesn't force Arjuna. He trusts Arjuna to choose wisely, after receiving clarity. And this is where many parents today go wrong. We demand obedience, without building understanding. Ankita's 12-year-old daughter, Meera, had started lying. Small things at first. Then bigger ones, skipping homework, hiding test results. Ankita was furious, she scolded, she took away her phone, nothing worked. One night, in frustration, Ankita asked, "Why do you lie to me?" Meera replied, "Because when I tell you the truth, you yell. When I lie, at least we don't fight right away." That broke Ankita. She realized her daughter wasn't rebelling, she was protecting herself, from judgment, from disappointment, from fear. The Gita shows us that real influence doesn't come from force. It comes from clarity, calmness, and respect. When Krishna speaks, it's not to win an argument. It's to awaken understanding. Imagine if your child felt that from you, that even when you correct them, they feel safe, that even when you're firm, they feel loved. That's how listening begins. Not with power, but with presence. The Gita isn't just spiritual, it's a masterclass in communication. Notice how Krishna waits for Arjuna to speak. How he doesn't interrupt, how he listens deeply, then responds clearly. As parents, we often do the opposite. We talk over, we assume, we react instead of reflect. What if, like Krishna, you paused first? What if you let your child finish before jumping in? What if your correction sounded like care, not criticism? That one shift could rebuild your relationship. The next time your child ignores you, don't just ask, "Why won't they listen?" Ask, "How clearly have I communicated, with love, not control?" You're not raising a robot, you're raising a soul. And souls listen best, when they feel safe. In the next chapter, we'll face a hard truth. What do you do when your child fails, at school, in life, or emotionally? We'll explore Krishna's words about failure, and how they can help you raise children who don't fear mistakes, but grow from them. See you in Chapter 4. Chapter 4, What to Do When Your Child Fails, Krishna's Answer to Every Parent's Fear. Failure. It's every parent's quiet fear. The failed exam. The missed opportunity. The moment your child stumbles, and you don't know whether to console them, correct them, or cry in private. You wonder, did I not prepare them enough? Did I push them too hard? Or not hard enough? And in that moment, you don't just see their failure. You feel your own. But what if we told you, failure isn't the end of the story? In the Gita, failure is where the real journey begins. When Arjuna hesitated, he felt like a failure. A warrior who couldn't fight. A leader who couldn't decide. A man paralyzed by doubt. He told Krishna, "My heart is overwhelmed with sorrow. My mind is confused. I can't see what's right or wrong." This wasn't the Arjuna we knew. This was the Arjuna beneath the armor. And Krishna doesn't scold him. He doesn't say, "You've let me down." Instead, he lifts him. He says, "Get up, O Arjuna. Shake off your weakness. This does not befit you." Notice the tone. It's not harsh. It's not hopeless. It's a reminder of who Arjuna really is. Riya was 15 when she failed her math exam. First time ever. Her mother, Sheetal, was shocked. Riya had always been the responsible one. She wanted to yell. Instead, she sat quietly beside her daughter. Riya broke down. I studied, I really tried, but I blanked out. I don't know what's wrong with me. Sheetal remembered Krishna's words to Arjuna. She held her daughter's hand and said, "This one exam doesn't define you. We'll learn from it, but it doesn't break you. Let's figure it out, together." That night changed everything, not because Riya passed, but because she knew, even in failure, she was still loved, still respected, still enough. The Gita teaches a revolutionary idea. There is no loss or diminution in this path, and even a little progress is never wasted. Let that sink in. In today's world, of rankings, performance, and resume building, we often forget this. But the Gita reminds us. Effort is never wasted. Progress doesn't have to be perfect. Falling down isn't failure, staying down is. As parents, your response to your child's failure shapes how they see themselves. If you react with disappointment, they learn to fear trying. If you respond with presence, they learn to rise. When your child fails, you have two choices. 1. Make it about shame. 2. Make it about learning. Krishna chose the second, always. He never made Arjuna's doubt feel like betrayal. He framed it as a doorway, to growth, to clarity, to strength. What if your child's failure was just that? Not a dead end, but a doorway. A moment to say, "Yes, this hurts, but we're not broken, we're learning, and we're still walking." That mindset is liberation. So the next time your child comes home with failure in their eyes, be like Krishna. Don't panic, don't shame, don't withdraw. Be still, be wise, be the mirror that reflects not what they've done, but who they still are. Because every great warrior falls, but the ones who rise again, have someone who believes in them, even when they forget to believe in themselves. Be that person. In the next chapter, we'll explore something parents silently suffer with. How do I handle my child's emotions, the anger, the anxiety, the overthinking, without breaking myself in the process? We'll walk through Krishna's lessons on emotional stability and how you can become a safe harbor for your child's storm. See you in Chapter 5. Chapter 5, When your child is angry, anxious, or overwhelmed, Krishna's guide to emotional safety. You see it in their eyes. The clenched jaw, the sudden outburst, or worse, the silence. Your child is hurting, they don't always say it, but it leaks out, in irritation, in withdrawal, in anxiety that keeps them up at night. And you try to hold it all together. But inside, you're asking, how do I help them, without losing myself? If that question lives inside you, this chapter is for you. Because what Krishna told Arjuna, applies not just to warriors, but to every overwhelmed parent, trying to hold space for their child's storm. One of the most powerful teachings of the Gita comes in Chapter 2, verse 14. O son of Kunti, the appearances of happiness and distress are like summer and winter seasons. They arise from sense perception, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Let's pause there. Krishna doesn't say emotions are bad. He doesn't say, don't feel. He says, feel it. Notice it. But don't be ruled by it. And that is emotional safety. Your child is allowed to feel. But they need to know they're not defined by what they feel. Arman was 16. Bright, creative, sensitive. But every exam week, his hands would shake, he couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. His parents thought he was lazy. Until one day, he locked himself in the bathroom, crying uncontrollably. His father, a reserved man, stood at the door and said nothing for a long time. Then quietly, he whispered, "You're not weak for feeling this. I used to panic before my office presentations too. That moment shattered the wall. Armin stepped out, not fixed, but seen, and that was enough to begin healing. The Gita doesn't teach repression, it teaches awareness without drowning. Krishna never tells Arjuna to stop feeling. He says, don't let emotions blind your duty. Likewise, as a parent, your job isn't to erase your child's emotions, it's to contain them, to be the safe bowl that can hold the overflowing soup. To say, yes, you're angry, I see that, and I'm here. Let's breathe together. Or, you're scared right now, and that's okay. But fear doesn't get to drive the car, we do. When you model calm in their chaos, you teach them that emotions are visitors, not rulers. Krishna also reminds us. One who is not disturbed by happiness and distress, and is steady in both, is certainly eligible for liberation. Emotional steadiness isn't apathy. It's clarity within turbulence. Think of it like this. When your child's boat is rocked by storms, they need a lighthouse, not another sinking ship. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to stay present without being pulled under. So when your child is angry, anxious, overwhelmed, don't rush to fix, don't rush to silence them, don't say, it's not a big deal. Instead, witness, be still. Create a space where their messy human experience is allowed, but not worshipped. That space is sacred. Because when your child knows they can fall apart in front of you without losing your love, they'll learn to put themselves back together. And that is what Krishna gave Arjuna. Not a denial of his pain, but a path through it. In the next chapter, we'll explore something few parents talk about. Why do I feel invisible to my own child? We'll dive into the silent ache of modern parenting, and what Krishna says about being seen, respected, and remembered. Don't miss it. Chapter 6, Why Don't They See Me? Krishna's wisdom for parents who feel invisible. You cook, you clean. You make sacrifices no one sees. And then one day, your child says, you don't get me. You don't do anything for me. And in that moment, something inside you breaks. You wonder, was all this love invisible? If you've ever felt unappreciated as a parent, if you've ever questioned your worth in your child's eyes, you are not alone. And Krishna, yes, even Krishna, understands that pain. In the Gita, Krishna plays many roles. He's a guide, a philosopher, a god. But to Arjuna, he is also a charioteer, a servant. Let that sink in. The divine itself chose to serve. And Arjuna? He didn't always understand Krishna's greatness. Sometimes, he doubted, questioned, even argued. But Krishna never pulled away. He didn't say, you don't deserve me. He stayed, calm, silent, steady. Because love doesn't always come with applause. Ramesh was a single father. He worked 2 jobs, never missed a school event, and always made his daughter's birthday special. One year, she forgot his. He didn't say anything. But that night, sitting alone with a slice of cake he bought for himself, something inside him quietly asked, am I that forgettable? He didn't want her to feel guilty. But he also didn't want to feel erased. Weeks later, he sat her down and said, you don't have to celebrate me with gifts. But just, see me. Acknowledge I'm here. She cried. And that moment reshaped their bond. Because even the strongest parents need to be seen. Krishna tells Arjuna in chapter 9, verse 29. I am equal to all beings. I do not envy or favor anyone. But those who love me with devotion, I am in them, and they are in me. This verse is deep. Krishna says he doesn't expect worship. But he recognizes true devotion. He dwells in those who see him with love. Similarly, as a parent, you don't need your child to praise you. But when they look at you with even a moment of respect, recognition, or care, it fills you in a way nothing else can. And that desire, to be seen, is not weakness. It is deeply human. But here's the catch. We often try to be everything. The provider, the protector, the peacemaker. And in that pursuit, we become so strong, that our children forget we have emotions too. So, show them. Show them that you bleed. That you feel. That behind the strength is a heart that hurts when unseen. Not to guilt them, but to teach them empathy. Krishna was the most powerful being in the Gita. Yet, he chose vulnerability, he chose connection. So should we. If this chapter touched something inside you, if you've ever felt invisible in your own home, comment below, I am seen. And do subscribe the channel. Let this be your moment of healing, and your message to others like you. You're not alone. You're not forgotten. And this space, this community, sees you. Now moving on. Being a parent means becoming the background of your child's world. But sometimes, you need to step into the light. Speak your truth, with calm. With grace. Because children don't always notice what you do. But when they feel who you are, that memory stays forever. Like Arjuna eventually did with Krishna. He finally saw his charioteer, was God himself. And your child, one day, will look back, and realize. My parent wasn't just present. They were extraordinary. In the next chapter, we confront something many parents never say out loud. Am I raising them right, or ruining them? We'll dive into Krishna's core teachings on duty, detachment, and how to parent without control, but with deep connection. Keep watching. Chapter 7, Am I Raising Them Right? Krishna's truth about parenting without control. You stay up at night wondering. Am I doing this right? Am I ruining them with too much discipline, or too little? What if they grow up and resent me? And worst of all, what if I gave them everything, and it still wasn't enough? Every parent, at some point, feels this quiet panic. But the Gita, and Krishna's own role as a mentor, carries an answer we rarely hear today. You are not meant to control the outcome. You're meant to shape the path, with love, with presence, and with detachment. In chapter 3, verse 19 of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Therefore, without being attached to the results of activities, one should act as a matter of duty. That word, duty, sounds heavy. But in truth, it is freeing. Because when you realize your job as a parent isn't to sculpt your child's future, but simply to give them the tools, the values, the space to grow, you stop trying to be a perfect sculptor. And you become a loving gardener. You plant. You water. But you cannot control the weather. Mira's son wanted to be a doctor. She spent years helping him prepare, tuitions, sleepless nights, extra mock exams. But the rejection letter came anyway. He broke down. And Mira did too, just not in front of him. Later that night, as he sat in silence, she quietly placed a note beside him. It said, Your worth is not decided by this exam. And my love was never based on your success. I am proud, because you tried. He didn't say much. But years later, he told her. That note healed something in me I didn't know was broken. Krishna never forced Arjuna to fight. He laid out the truth. He gave him wisdom. And then, he stepped back. In chapter 18, verse 63, Krishna says, Thus, I have explained to you knowledge that is more secret than all secrets. Ponder over it deeply, and then do as you wish. That is divine parenting. Give your child the truth, and the space to choose. When you parent with control, they may obey, but feel trapped. When you parent with trust, they may stumble, but they will return stronger. Because trust is oxygen. So ask yourself. Are you parenting to create a version of you? Or are you parenting to help them discover who they are? The former brings frustration. The latter brings peace. Because your child will not always choose the path you imagined. They may love what you don't understand. Question what you thought was sacred. But if they were raised with love and clarity, they'll carry your values inside them, even if their choices look different. That's Krishna's lesson. Guide, but don't grip. Teach, but don't trap. Love, but let go. So the next time you ask, am I raising them right? Remember this. If you're showing up with love, if you're speaking with honesty, if you're allowing them space to grow, even when it scares you, then yes, you are doing it right. Not perfectly, but right. Just as Krishna did. He never forced Arjuna's hand, and yet, he shaped a warrior who changed the fate of history. And so will you, in your own quiet, powerful way. Next, we'll go even deeper. What if my child doesn't talk to me anymore? Krishna's voice echoes through the silence of modern parenting, when communication breaks, and love feels lost. Don't miss it. Chapter 8, What if my child doesn't talk to me anymore? Krishna's voice in the silence. There's a kind of heartbreak no one talks about. When your own child stops speaking to you. Not out of hate, but silence. No goodbyes, no explanations, just distance. You watch their phone light up, but not for you. You check their social media, just to see if they're okay. And somewhere deep inside, you ask yourself the most painful question a parent can face. Did I lose them? Krishna, too, watched Arjuna go silent once. Before the battle, Arjuna put down his bow. He sat down, broken. Refusing to fight, refusing to listen. And in that moment, Krishna didn't yell. He didn't say, "You're disrespecting me." He waited. He understood. Because silence is rarely the problem, it's the symptom. And behind every silent child is an unspoken story. Neelam's son used to tell her everything. Then college came. And with it, distance. At first, it was calls once a week. Then once a month. Then, silence. One day, she sent him a long message. It read, "I don't need daily calls. I just need to know you're okay. And if you're hurting, you don't have to fix it before coming back to me. I love you even in your silence." He didn't reply right away. But weeks later, a message came back. "I didn't know how to talk to you when I felt like a failure." And just like that, the door unlocked. Chapter 2, verse 11 of the Gita, Krishna says, "You speak words of wisdom, but you grieve for what is not worthy of grief. The wise grieve neither for the living nor the dead." He's not saying don't feel pain. He's saying, don't get trapped in the form of the pain. If your child is silent, it may not be because of you. It may be because of them. Shame, guilt, pressure, fear. They stay away not because they don't love you, but because they don't know how to face you. So what do? You stay reachable. Not by chasing, but by being available. You send the message. I am here when you're ready. Because Krishna never walked away from Arjuna. He waited, with open arms and an open heart. And when Arjuna finally spoke, Krishna didn't say, "Finally." He just listened. Then, he spoke only what Arjuna needed to hear. That is the art of divine love. If your child isn't talking to you right now, know this. They may be fighting battles they haven't named yet. Keep your door open. Keep your voice gentle. And above all, don't let silence fool you into thinking love has ended. Sometimes, silence is where love quietly waits to return. Just like Arjuna came back to Krishna. Your child, too, will find their way back. When they do, don't ask why they left. Just whisper, "I missed you." And let that be enough. In the next chapter, we take on a hidden struggle that weighs on every parent over time. They don't need me anymore, letting go without feeling left behind. Krishna's wisdom helps us face the hardest transition of all. When love must loosen its grip to truly last. Stay with me. Chapter 9, They Don't Need Me Anymore, Letting Go Without Feeling Left Behind. There's a day every parent quietly dreads. It's not when your child takes their first step, but when they take their first step away from you. They stop asking you what to wear. Stop needing your reminders. Stop looking for your approval. And it hits you. Not in a dramatic moment, but in the stillness of a quiet room. They don't need me anymore. You raised them to fly. But you weren't ready for the silence of an empty sky. There's no graduation ceremony for a parent whose child becomes independent. No applause, no closure. Just 1,000 quiet sacrifices. And the haunting fear, what do I do with all this love that has nowhere to go now? Krishna knew this pain, not just as a teacher, but as a guide who let go without clinging. Shyam used to pack his daughter's lunch every morning. Even in college, she liked it, or so he thought. Until one day, she gently said, "Baba, I think I'll start packing it myself now." He nodded with a smile. But that afternoon, he sat in the kitchen holding the empty tiffin box. Tears in his eyes, not because she stopped needing him, but because she was ready to stand alone. He didn't stop loving her. He just learned to love her from the background. Chapter 18, verse 66, the final verse. Krishna speaks to Arjuna. Abandon all varieties of duty and just surrender unto me alone. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions, do not fear. And yet, Krishna still lets Arjuna choose. He teaches, and then lets go. He doesn't say, "Come back to me always." He says, "Go, walk your path." That is love without chains, that is letting go with dignity. You're not obsolete, you're evolving. You're no longer the driver, but the compass they still carry. When your child no longer needs you in the old way. That's not rejection. That's the success of your parenting. It means you built them strong enough to walk without holding your hand. And it means now, you must walk your own path again. Not as someone who's lost their purpose, but as someone who completed one chapter. And now begins another. So when you feel that ache, that silence, that space they used to fill, don't chase. Don't guilt. Don't mourn. Bless them, because Krishna's final act was not control, it was freedom. Let your love be like his. Unshaken, unattached. Eternal, but not possessive. And one day, without you needing to ask, they'll turn around, look at you, and say, "I still carry you with me. Always did." That is the highest success of love. Next. Why did they forget everything I taught them? The pain of being ignored, and the Gita's surprising answer. A chapter every parent must hear, about trust, values, and the long road back to connection. You don't want to miss this. Chapter 10, Why did they forget everything I taught them? The pain of being ignored, and the Gita's surprising answer. You spent years teaching them right from wrong. You showed them compassion, discipline, honesty, faith. But now, they speak with sharp words. They reject your traditions. They roll their eyes at your values. And a quiet ache forms inside your chest. Was all that love wasted? When Arjuna stood in front of Krishna, broken and confused. He wasn't a perfect man. He was scared. He doubted. He resisted. And yet, Krishna didn't say, "Did you forget everything I taught you in childhood?" No. He met him where he was. Because the Gita doesn't begin with obedience. It begins with inner confusion. And that is often where real learning starts. Kavita raised her son with devotion. He went to temple as a child. He prayed. He touched her feet. But by the time he turned 25, he mocked her beliefs. Called it superstition. Didn't come home on festivals. One day, she asked, "What happened to you?" He replied coldly, "I grew up." She cried that night, not because he stopped believing, but because she feared he stopped feeling. Years later, when he faced a serious failure, he returned home quietly. And in the corner of the house, he folded his hands again. Not because she forced him, but because pain brought him back to the roots he once dismissed. Krishna teaches in chapter 4, verse 7. Whenever there is decline in righteousness, I appear. But he doesn't say when. Because awakening has its own timing. Sometimes your child has to lose themselves to rediscover who they are. Sometimes they must unlearn before they can truly understand. And no lesson taught in love ever truly disappears. It only hides, waiting for the right moment to return. So when you ask, why did they forget everything I taught them? The Gita gently replies, they didn't. They're just not ready to remember it yet. Do not measure your impact by their temporary rejection. Measure it by the roots you planted, quietly, deeply, through the years. A tree does not shout when it bears fruit. It just waits. And one day, when the storms come, they will reach for the shelter you built. You may feel invisible now. But love, real love, does not vanish when ignored. It endures. Keep being the example. Keep walking your path. Even if they take a different route now. The seeds you sowed will find soil again. In heartbreak, in failure, in their own children one day. And when they finally understand, you won't need an apology. Because your love wasn't about being right. It was about being there. Next chapter. They blame me for everything, when love becomes a target, and Krishna's hard truth about painful roles. It's one of the hardest places for a parent to be. But also, one of the most important. Let's walk it together. Chapter 11, They blame me for everything, when love becomes a target, and Krishna's hard truth about painful roles. You gave them everything. Time. Sleep. Dreams. Youth. And yet one day, they look at you with anger in their eyes and say, "You ruined my life." And all the sacrifices you made, suddenly feel like crimes. This is the heartbreak no one prepares parents for. Not when your child fails, but when they blame you for it. They say you were too strict. Or too soft, too busy, too involved. You stand there stunned. Thinking, was everything I did for them, just invisible? Rekha was a single mother who worked 2 jobs. Her son, now 23, recently told her, "If you hadn't been so absent, maybe I wouldn't be this messed up." She didn't yell. She just nodded, and went to her room. Where she broke down, not in anger, but in helplessness. Because she didn't abandon him. She just chose the pain of distance to buy him a better future. But children don't always see the price love pays behind the curtain. In chapter 11, Krishna reveals his Vishwarupa, the cosmic form. Terrifying, grand, overwhelming. Arjuna sees not just the protector, but the destroyer. The fierce face of God. He trembles. "I see all beings entering your blazing mouths. I see destruction." This is the moment every parent fears. When your child sees your discipline, your limits, your mistakes. But not your heart. Krishna did not apologize for the divine duty he embodied. He simply said, "This too, is me." You see, there comes a time in every child's life when they must rebel. Blame. Resist. It's how they find their own identity. And sadly, the safest place to direct that rebellion is you. Why? Because deep down, they know you'll still love them anyway. It's not fair. But it's real. Krishna reminds us. Not every hard role is cruel. Some are necessary. Even when misunderstood. So if you're being blamed, don't rush to defend yourself. Don't break in guilt. Pause, and remember. They are still growing. Still wrestling with pain they can't yet process. Your job was never to be perfect. Your job was to be present. And if your love was real, one day, the same child who blamed you will walk into the kitchen, sit beside you, and say, "I didn't understand back then, but now I do." That moment may take years. But when it comes, it will heal everything. Because Krishna teaches, truth always returns. And so does love. Next chapter. I miss the child I once had, the Gita's wisdom on accepting who they've become. It's time to grieve the old, accept the now, and love without condition. Let's continue. Chapter 12, I miss the child I once had, the Gita's wisdom on accepting who they've become. You don't hate who they are now. But some days, you look at them, the way they talk, the way they pull away. And you can't help but whisper inside. Where did my child go? You miss their tiny voice. Their silly questions. The way they'd crawl into your bed after a nightmare. Now, they barely say goodnight. And though you're proud of the adult they're becoming, a quiet grief stays behind. Because the child you once knew has grown into someone you're still learning to understand. Parenthood is the slowest goodbye. Not one big farewell, but 1,000 tiny ones. The last time they held your hand in public. The last time they called you Mama or Papa. The last time they needed you to stay until they fell asleep. No one tells you it's the last time when it happens. It just ends. And you realize it only when it's too late to hold on. You want to love who they are now. But your heart still aches for the version of them that needed you. Vijay used to trip over his daughter's tiny pink shoes every morning. She'd always leave them in the hallway. It annoyed him back then. He'd yell, "How many times do I have to tell you?" Years later, the house is quiet. She's moved out. And her shoes are gone. One evening, he walked past that same hallway and whispered, "I'd give anything to trip over them one more time." He didn't just miss the shoes. He missed who she used to be. And the version of himself that existed when she still needed him. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 13, Krishna gently reminds us. As the soul passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, so does it pass into another body after death. The wise are not deluded by this. Your child's soul is still the same. Only the form has changed. Their voice may sound different. Their choices might confuse you. They may seem distant. But the soul you once rocked to sleep is still inside. It's evolving. Just like you once did. When your own parents missed the version of you they once knew. We cling to the past because it feels safer, familiar, full of warmth. But Krishna's wisdom teaches us. Love must be wide enough to hold change. If you don't accept who they are now, you will forever be mourning someone who still exists. Just in a different shape. Let your love grow up with them. You don't have to forget the child they were. You just have to stop waiting for them to come back. Because they aren't gone. They've just become. So next time you feel that ache, sit with it. Honor it. Then look at them, not with nostalgia, but with presence. Because today, they still need you. Not as the hand they hold, but as the heart that understands. Final chapter next. Was I a good parent? The question that haunts the quiet years. A final reflection for every soul who gave their all, and still wonders if it was enough. Krishna's final answer will stay with you forever. Chapter 13, Was I a good parent? The question that haunts the quiet years. The kids are grown. The house is quiet. There's no more school drop-offs, no more scraped knees, no more nightly stories. And somewhere in that silence, a question echoes through your soul. Was I a good parent? Not perfect. Not superhuman. Just good enough. You remember the days you lost your temper. The nights you were too tired to listen. The times you said, "Not now," when maybe you should have said, "Come here." And it haunts you. Because nobody gives you a report card for parenting. There's no applause. No feedback. Just time, slowly pulling them away. And you wonder. Did I love them well enough? Did I guide them gently? Did I protect them without controlling them? Or did I mess up more than I realized? Rena found an old letter she'd written years ago. One she never gave her son. It said, "If I was ever too harsh, I'm sorry. If I ever failed to see your pain, forgive me. I only wanted you to feel safe. I was learning too, how to be a parent, how to hold everything together. How to love without always knowing how to show it." She folded the paper, held it to her chest, and cried. Because the truth is, she loved him with everything she had. But she still questioned if it was ever enough. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 66, Krishna offers this divine message. Abandon all varieties of duty and simply surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sin. Do not fear. Even when we falter. Even when we feel like we failed. Krishna doesn't condemn us. He sees the intention behind the action. The love behind the mistakes. The trying, even when we were tired, overwhelmed, and scared. You were not supposed to be perfect. You were supposed to be real. And in being real, you were enough. Your child may never fully understand the battles you fought behind the scenes. The sacrifices you made quietly. The nights you couldn't sleep because they were hurting and you didn't know how to fix it. But Krishna saw it all. The lunches packed in a rush. The bills paid with held-back tears. The discipline that came from fear, not anger. You were growing with them. Learning with them. And loving them, even when you didn't love yourself. So the next time you ask, was I a good parent? Remember this. If you showed up. If you tried. If you kept loving them even on the days they pushed you away. Then yes. In Krishna's eyes. You were not just a good parent. You were the parent they needed.